We have this from Oilfield Rando about the continuing resolution. Bad news, guys. All those AOC Boebert sexy AI images we've been enjoying, the continuing resolution makes them illegal. You can go to jail for 2 years for those. Thanks, GOP. The Take It Down Act. Is this actually in the continuing resolution? Can you pull up the actual document and see if we can source this to make sure?
Non-consensual, intimate visual depictions.
Ron, do they have a case against me or not?
Okay, it says,
Intimate.
This title may be cited as the Tools to Address Known Exploitation by Immobilizing Technological Deepfakes on Websites and Networks Act, or the Take It Down Act.
Take it down.
It says the Section 1002, Criminal Prohibition on Intentional Disclosure of Non-Consensual Intimate Visual Depictions. In general, Section 223 of the Communications Act of 1934 is amended by redesigning subsection H and subsection I, inserting after G and following, blah, 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 intentional disclosure of non-consensual intimate visual depictions. I mean, I got to be honest. In all seriousness, I think it's kind of cringe that people are doing this. But the idea that you can't draw a picture of somebody and share it, that they'd make that illegal, is kind of an absurdity.
Just for argument's sake, they didn't specifically write AOC and Boebert, right? I think this is generally
he was pointing.
This is generally trying to avoid. I think I've heard news stories of young people using faces of their classmates and putting them onto naked bodies of other people, and I think the idea here is to prevent stuff like that, like leaking fake nudes of your classmates or fake porn of people, I think is what they're trying to avoid in this. And moving forward, I don't think this is going to be the worst thing in the CR. I don't know how they're going to police this.
It's unconstitutional.
There are issues with AI that we should be trying to be aware of. This is essentially trying to work on containing misleading AI images.
Certainly doesn't belong in a continuing resolution. That's our real point.
Sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is not. I mean, this would be if you want to take the position that a reasonable person could conclude that there are issues that ought to be addressed, or societal issues ought to be addressed, and perhaps it's possible to do so in a way that survives First Amendment scrutiny. Unlikely, but let's say that it were.
Yep.
Then you debate it. You take votes on it. You don't shove it into the.
Absolutely.
We're going to shut down the federal parks, which is the only thing, frankly, that gets shut down.
These continue.
And never shut down the FBI.
Right. These omnibus bills, they should find a way to outlaw them. You should have to vote on every law that is passed. That is what Congress exists for. So the idea that they don't vote on every single law that they want to pass, that they just shove them into one thing and say we have to pass this to spend money, it's absolutely, it is disgusting, and it makes Congress pointless, and it leaves the people with no recourse, no way to actually punish their senators or their congressperson when they do something bad.
And then they try to hold the American economy hostage by threatening a shutdown and the consequences to follow. I kind of hate this because it's kind of fake drama. They will pass one of these CRs. Both sides just need to posture right now. Unfortunately, this is how our Congress operates. So this is the process for them.
I'm trying to find the full document, but it's very difficult.
It's I mean, once you find it.
Okay, I think I found it.
Good luck finding the part that you're looking for.
Page 304. Yep.
There you go.
Okay, confirmed. All right, I just wanted to make sure I'm just not reading some random stuff on X.
Mm-hmm. You can trust Oilfield Rando.
Yeah, on X.
Yes. So it's right here, criminal prohibition on the intentional disclosure of non-consensual intimate depictions. It says consent, the term means affirmative, conscious, and voluntary authorization made by an individual. Digital forgery, the term digital forgery means any intimate visual depiction of an identifiable individual created through the use of software, machine learning, artificial intelligence, or any other computer-generated technological means.
Fake nudes.
That means using Photoshop.
Yeah.
That's going to mean doing any kind of digital work to create an image of somebody.
And posting it online.
That's pretty crazy. I mean, look, again, it's kind of cringe that people do, but outlaw.
I mean, everyone in Hollywood does that, but that's with consent.
Yeah.
They're doing it for themselves.
Identifiable individual is defined, interactive computer service, intimate visual depiction. Has the meaning given such term in Section 1309 of the Consolidated Appropriations Act.
Oh, well, the Consolidated Appropriations.
The minor portion of it, I completely agree with, right? If they're saying like you can't make images of children using digital software, like of
I think
course.
it's trying to prevent convincible fake AI porn of people. So like,
I agree,
If someone were to make a fake porn image of you, this is how they try to battle it. Obviously, this is an issue that
I've learned to live with it. Why can't everyone else?
Well, now if you have real nudes, you could be like, no. Actually, that was AI. So we could kind of get to the
People don't
singularity
believe the
of
real
nudes.
ones. They do actually assume that it's AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say so there's a portion about minors. Literally everybody should agree with that, except for anyone on Blue Sky. They're all probably saying, no, help us. But that's fine. The involving adults gets kind of weird. You know, look, morally, I agree. Like, people should not be doing this. But this could be so broad as to be like, you can't use Photoshop to make an image of somebody. Like,
I guess it's a lot harder to do on Photoshop, though not impossible, as opposed to plugging it into one of these AI image generators. It's like you go through your yearbook and
look. I'm sorry. This is kind of crazy. Look, it says, except as provided in subparagraph C, it shall be unlawful for any person in interstate or foreign commerce to use an interactive computer service to knowingly publish a digital forgery of an identifiable individual who is not a minor if, 1, the digital forgery was published without the consent of the identifiable individual. 2, what is depicted was not voluntarily exposed by the identifiable individual in a public or commercial setting. 3, what is depicted is not a matter of public concern. And 4, publication of the digital forgery is intended to cause harm or causes harm, including psychological, financial, or reputational harm to the identifiable individual.
What garbage?
Ron, do I have the First Amendment right to post fake nudes of people?
Do you have the First Amendment right to post fake nudes of people? In other words, without even coming on to the use of AI, could you do it? That person probably actually could sue you in California and succeed, and in other states with a strong writer personality. I would say you don't necessarily have that right.
Yeah, I think that's what they're working on here. I would never do something like that.
I mean, are they're saying it will be a criminal offense?
But you have to. I mean,
Shall be unlawful. Like, what? So, what are the results? What are the ramifications of that going to be? Does it state?
I'm sure it does. But I just want to point out there are so many problems here. What is depicted is not a matter of public concern. So you could argue that basically any form of any politician who's depicted is almost per se a matter of public concern. So to some extent, Oilfield Rando might be overshooting the mark here. What is depicted was not voluntarily exposed. Okay. What was number one, the first one? Digital forgery
Without consent.
Was published. So published is an extremely broad word because it doesn't necessarily mean that it was put in a public forum on the internet. It could just be sending an email.
Yeah.
You could just be sending a text or a WhatsApp.
As a meme, you could be sending it to your friend, and that
Right.
could be actionable.
Which just like basically child porn, although this doesn't refer to just having it. With child porn, you can, they can get you just for just having it.
So, are we in agreement? Like, morally, we agree with it, but it shouldn't be a law.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot.
You can't stop the technology.
I know.
is
You look.
a part of it.
I feel like I'm becoming more conservative in these past few months, and it's funny because people try to call me conservative. I'm like, I'm basically not. But the moral arguments of maintaining a sound and moral society are becoming more and more clear when you see how the left operates, and you see things like this. It's a question of if we just say outright, like, look, man, live and let live, do whatever you want, you end up with AI-generated images of kids. So clearly, we don't want that. Like, obviously, abusing kids is an atrocity. Now you've got people on the left arguing for just make them fake images. That'll do it. That's literally an argument they're making. And we're like, no. So we agree. That's the line. Like, we're not going to let anybody do that. Now they're saying you shouldn't be allowed to do it for adults either. And there's a question of whether we allow it or not. I think it's kind of crazy, but I'm starting to lean towards, do we have to ban things like this? Now, typically I lean towards we need cultural solutions. This is a cultural problem. I love how Ron Paul said of abortion, it should not be illegal, it should be unthinkable. And that's what we want to happen, but we're not there. So when I look at this, I'm like, we as a society should not tolerate people making AI porn images of prominent female individuals for any reason, but tolerate doesn't mean make illegal. So the question is, how do we stop people from doing it if we're trying to be, well, we want to be out, we don't want to lock people up in jail for things like this. It's a very, very difficult position, which ultimately I feel like I get more conservative. I'm like, society must be moral, because otherwise this degeneracy and degradation destroys society.
I think it's worth considering, too, whatever means or method is used to censor this will be used to censor other information that they can call manipulated.
But now go the other direction. This is the problem. It's not one way. It's not this. It's not a slope. We're on top of this peak. And if we say, if we censor this, they will use it to censor other things we want to do. Yeah. And if we don't censor this, they will escalate the degeneracy in some disgusting direction. So there is no point in this social map where we can stand still. We're being pulled in every possible direction. How do we maintain a position where we're like, this is a good place to be. We have free speech. We can express our opinions, but we don't tolerate this extreme. I mean, look, to be honest, I could not imagine what like some of these female celebrities must be thinking when they see these AI images of them going out, or like AOC. Like it's horrible. We don't want a society that does that. But at the same time, we don't want to arrest people for making art and images. How do we balance that?
It's not only that. We don't want to arrest them. We don't want that to be part of our civic life. And there's also an aspect where the harder you squeeze, the more leaks out.
Yep.
In a time of information and data and visual richness, there's so many different ways information can be shared and broadcast and published. It's almost impossible, even if you could roll back the extremely permissive definitions of the Supreme Court regarding pornography, the definition of obscenity.
Let me ask you guys a question. It's let's go back to 1940, and you live in a small town in the outskirts of Omaha, small town of about 300 people, and your neighbor gets a photo of your wife doing something compromising and starts posting copies of them all over the town. What do you think the husband does?
Shoots him.
Yeah.
Something pretty extreme, like
Goes to the guy posting it and probably physically confronts him.
I'm just thinking about, I see people in the chat, they're saying the internet is for jokes, you can't ban jokes, and I'm like, my first thought was, okay, well then kids are not allowed on the internet. And the internet is 18 up from now on. If the idea is the internet can contain hardcore porn and snuff, kids aren't allowed. Because the argument would then be that children walking, imagine if a kid was walking down the street right now in your town, and there was a business that put up hardcore porn on the windows. Would anyone tolerate that? Of course not. But that's the internet. I was on X earlier, and I was looking up, I was looking for a clip of that fat activist who got hired by San Francisco. And so I typed in San Francisco body positivity.
Oh, good Lord.
And a bunch of porn popped up. And I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. Like hardcore stuff on X. Why is that? That should not happen. Why would anyone tolerate children being on the internet? The problem then becomes, even if you're an adult, imagine if you were walking down the town walking down the street in your city, and you saw that someone put your wife's face on nude women in hardcore porn and just plastered it all over the place. The internet, there's a difference between the internet and real life, but but the internet has become a central place of information sharing. And so while we used to walk to the town center and go to church to communicate with our neighbors and our community, now we go on the internet to do this. And the lanes of the internet are spattered with porn. Imagine what someone's going to do when their wife is being put in these images. Are we as a society just supposed to be like, well, that's the internet, I guess we have no choice but to tolerate it? Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.